The night shift at St. Vincent Memorial Hospital was the kind of slow that made time feel heavy. Nurses chatted quietly at the station, the floors freshly polished, the hallways humming with the soft, steady rhythm of machines. Outside, a cold Colorado wind pushed against the glass doors, scattering dead leaves across the entrance like tiny whispers of a storm that never fully came. It was peaceful, predictable, almost painfully ordinary, until the automatic sliding doors banged open with a force nobody expected. Nurse Amelia looked up first. What the? A massive shape stumbled into the lobby below to the ground, staggering with each step. At first it looked like a large dog, but then the overhead lights caught the reflector strip on the torn vest strapped across its body. A police K9, a German shepherd, battle-worn, drenched in mud, limping heavily on one leg. His fur was matted with blood, not all of it his. His chest rose in shallow, desperate breaths. His eyes were wide, alert, and full of something that instantly froze the entire staff. Determination, a mission, a purpose. But that wasn't what made every nurse gasp. The dog was dragging something. No someone. A little girl, no more than 8 or 9. Her tiny fingers tangled tightly in the dog's fur like she had refused to let go. No matter what happened on the way there. Her clothes were soaked, torn, stained with dirt and streaks of dark red. One of her socks was missing. Her face was pale, smeared with dried tears, a thin line of blood trailing from her forehead down to her chin. She wasn't screaming. She wasn't moving much at all. Only her lips trembled. The dog dragged her several more inches into the hospital before collapsing onto his belly, chest heaving. He didn't whine, didn't cry out, didn't look at anyone except the little girl beside him, nudging her weakly with his nose as if urging her to stay awake. The nurses unfroze all at once. Get a stretcher. Call trauma team. Oh my God, she's freezing, get warm blankets. But when 2 nurses rushed forward, the canine lifted his head sharply and let out a deep, chest-rattling growl. Not wild, not confused. Guarding, protecting her. Nurse Amelia slowly raised her palms. Hey, boy, it's okay. We want to help her. But the dog didn't blink. His eyes were locked on her every movement. Amelia noticed something, then a tag hanging from the dog's collar, half buried in mud. She crouched slightly, careful not to get too close. The name read, K9 Hunter, Colorado State Police. Her throat tightened. Hunter. She knew that name. Everyone in the county did. Hunter was part of a highly decorated state police K9 unit stationed near the mountains. His handler, Officer Ryan Reed, was known for being fiercely attached to him, so much so that the dog was practically a celebrity. In local news reports, Reed often said Hunter wasn't just a partner. He was the part of him that could sense things people never could. But Hunter was never alone, never without his handler, never without a police escort. And yet here he was, bleeding, exhausted, dragging an unconscious child into a hospital as if he had traveled miles in the dark to bring her somewhere, anywhere safe. Amelia's heart pounded. What happened to you? And where is your team? As more nurses gathered, Hunter tried to stand again, legs shaking violently. He attempted to push the girl toward them with his snout, as if pleading with the humans to take over, but only after making sure they weren't a threat. When the girl stirred faintly, whispering something incoherent, Hunter immediately shoved his body against hers protectively. The gesture hit Amelia so hard she felt tears sting the back of her eyes. This wasn't instinct. This wasn't training. This was personal. A doctor approached cautiously. We need to move her, now. We can't get to her unless he lets us, Amelia whispered. Try again. Slowly, the doctor crouched. Easy, Hunter. We're here to help. Hunter's ears flicked. He looked at the girl, then back at the doctor. His muscles twitched with pain, but after a long, tense moment he released a low exhale and lowered his head to the floor. Permission. The nurses carefully lifted the girl onto the stretcher. She reached blindly for Hunter even in her semi-conscious state. Hunter, don't leave, don't leave. Hunter whimpered softly, a heartbreaking sound from such a powerful animal. When the stretcher began moving, Hunter forced himself onto his feet, stumbling, refusing to let the girl out of his sight. Every step cost him pain, but he stayed beside her, limping through the hospital hallway like a broken guardian unwilling to give up. Amelia walked beside them, unable to shake a chilling realization. If Hunter was here alone, if he had brought this girl by himself, then whatever happened out there in the mountains was far worse than anyone could imagine. And the people responsible? They might not be finished. The fluorescent lights of trauma room 3 buzzed softly as doctors surrounded the little girls. Stretcher. Her small body shivered under warm blankets, a stark contrast to the frantic rush around her. The girl's eyes fluttered, half aware, drifting between consciousness and a nightmare only she could see. Hunter lay on the floor beside her bed, refusing to let anyone push him away. A nurse had tried earlier, but one sharp growl had been enough to make every doctor in the room agree. The dog stays, even in his own pain, even with dry blood stiff on his fur. Hunter's gaze never left the girl. His breathing was labored, his chest rising unevenly, but every time she stirred or cried out, his ears perked, and he inched closer, nudging her hand with his nose. Nurse Amelia moved between machines, checking vitals. She's dehydrated, hypothermic, concussion for sure, bruising on the ribs, and these marks, she whispered, tracing faint rope burns on the girl's wrists. What happened to you? Dr. Lanning shook his head. No ID on her, no parents with her, no missing child report matches her face. Someone is looking for her, Amelia murmured. Someone has to be, maybe, the doctor replied. Or maybe someone didn't want her to be found. That thought lingered in the air like a shadow. The girl suddenly jerked awake with a small cry. Hunter, she gasped, reaching blindly. The dog immediately pressed against the side of the bed, licking her fingers, whining softly. Her eyes, glassy with fear, flicked around the room. Don't let them take me. Don't let them take me again. Who, sweetheart? Amelia asked gently, leaning close. Who tried to take you? The girl's breathing stuttered. The men from the cabin. Everyone in the room froze. Before Amelia could ask more, the girl's eyes rolled back and she slipped into unconsciousness again. The monitors beeping steadily beside her. Hunter whimpered, pawing weakly at the floor. He knew she wasn't okay. He knew more than anyone in the room. Minutes later, the automatic door slid open and a uniformed officer stepped inside Officer Michael Daniels, a calm, composed presence in most emergencies. He stopped short at the sight of the canine lying wounded beside the child. Hunter, Daniels whispered, what the hell happened to you? He stepped closer, but Hunter immediately lifted his head, ears pricked, issuing a low warning rumble. Daniels froze with his hands up. Easy, boy. It's me. Hunter didn't relax. Not until the girl murmured his name again and her hand twitched toward him. Only then did he lower his head. Why would a police K-9 act like this toward a child? Daniels muttered. He's treating her like she's his partner. Amelia nodded. That's exactly what I thought. Daniels knelt, scanning the torn vest. He's from the Colorado State Police K-9 unit. Reed's dog. He swallowed hard. Reed and his team responded to a raid in the mountains tonight. Some kind of trafficking operation. The last radio call was bad. Amelia's stomach tightened. Bad how? All units went dark. No contact. No officers returned. She glanced at Hunter, at his bleeding flank, at his trembling legs. He had come from hell, alone, dragging a child he refused to abandon. Daniels pulled out his tablet and tapped into the police database, his brow furrowing as he read the incident logs. Listen to this. Reed reported finding the child alive in the cabin. Gunfire heard. Hunter barking in the background. Reed said Hunter was trying to bring her out. Then Daniels paused. The call cut off. Silence swallowed the room. Hunter lifted his head, ears twitching, eyes fixed on the entrance. Amelia noticed instantly. What's wrong, boy? The dog didn't respond. He stared down the empty hallway, muscles tightening. Daniels followed his gaze. Something spooking him. Hunter let out a soft growl. And then, the lights flickered. Twice, every machine blinked. The security monitors in the hall glitched, static fuzzing across the displays. Amelia's heart climbed into her throat. What was that? A nurse whispered. Before anyone could answer, the girl shot a bright like a lightning bolt had hit her. They found us, she cried, voice shredded with panic. The men from the cabin. Hunter, please don't let them take me. The entire room froze. Daniels rushed to the hallway to check the cameras. Amelia checked on the trembling girl. Hunter rose slowly, painfully placing himself between her and the door. Just then, the ER's sliding entrance doors opened. 3 men in black jackets walked in calmly. Far too calmly. Daniel's hand moved to his gun. They're here, the girl whispered, voice cracking, and Hunter's growl deepened into something primal, something war-ready, something that said, over my dead body. The 3 men who entered there looked painfully out of place in a hospital. Their dark jackets were spotless, too clean for the hour, too coordinated for coincidence. Their expressions calm. rehearsed tightened into something sharp when they spotted the little girl on the stretcher. Nurse Amelia instinctively stepped in front of the girl. Officer Daniels reached for his holster, keeping his hand low but ready. "Can I help you?" Daniels asked, voice controlled but edged with tension. The tallest of the men stepped forward, plastering on a worried look that didn't reach his eyes. "Yes, thank God," he said breathlessly. "We're looking for our niece. Her name is Emma. She went missing earlier today." He pulled out a printed photograph to Crisp. To prepare, Dan held it out. The girl on the bed stirred at the sound of his voice. Her eyes opened, foggy at first, then sharp with terror. She stared at the man holding the photo, and her whole body recoiled. "No," she screamed. "Not them. Not them. They're lying. They're not my family." Hunter shot to his feet, a guttural growl erupting from deep in his chest. He planted himself between the men and the child, teeth bared, head lowered, every hair bristling. The lobby went silent, icy, suffocating. Daniel stepped forward, blocking the men. "Sir, I'm going to need you to step back. We just want to take our niece home." The second man insisted, still trying to sound calm, but betraying a tremor of impatience. "She's been through a lot." "Interesting," Daniel said, eyes narrowing. "She seems absolutely terrified of you." The men exchanged a quick glance, the kind trained eyes like Daniel's recognized instantly. Calculation, nervousness, fear. Not of the girl, but of being stopped. "Officer," the first man said smoothly, "she's confused. Traumatized kids say strange. Then why is the police K-9 acting like you're a threat?" Daniel's cut in. Hunter growled again, louder, inching closer with each step they took. The men didn't answer. Their eyes flicked toward the exit, then toward the hallways, then back to the girl. "Sir," Daniel said, placing a hand on his firearm, "I am ordering you to step outside until we verify." But his words were drowned out by the sudden roar of an engine. A black SUV pulled up to the hospital entrance. Then another. The automatic doors slid open again, but this time no one entered. The three men stiffened. Daniel's heart dropped into his stomach. Amelia whispered, "This doesn't feel like family coming to pick up a lost child. This felt like a coordinated retrieval, or worse, a cleanup." Hunter sensed it first. He stepped forward, barking, the sound sharp and violent, echoing across their lobby. His body shook from injury, but his eyes were blazing. He knew these men, or he knew what they were part of. The little girl clung to his fur, sobbing, "They hurt me. They hurt other kids. Don't let them take me." Daniels raised his voice. "Security, lock the lobby doors." Before anyone could react, the tallest man threw up his hands in mock surrender. "Officer, let's calm down. We're here for a child's welfare." "No," Daniels said coldly. "You're here for something else." Something flashed in the man's eyes, something predatory. But before he could speak, the lobby lights flickered. Once, twice. Then the entire front of the hospital went pitch black for half a second. When the emergency lights kicked back on, Daniel's radio crackled to life with static, loud and distorted. "Units be advised of known electrical interference, hospital grid." The message cut out. The men in the lobby didn't flinch. They didn't panic. They didn't even look surprised. They had expected it. Hunter barked again, louder, more desperate this time. He pivoted toward the pediatric wing, then toward the elevators, then back to the men, like he was triangulating threats. Daniels positioned himself in front of the stretcher. "You three are coming with me," he ordered. Hands where I could see them. The tallest man smiled. A cold, dead smile. "If you insist." But the moment Daniels radioed for backup, the man lunged not for the officer, but for the little girl. Hunter exploded forward like a lightning bolt, slamming into him mid-leap. Both crashed to the ground, tables scattering, equipment smashing. "Hunter!" Amelia screamed. Chaos erupted. Daniels tackled the second man. Security swarmed the third. There was suddenly a storm of bodies, shouts, and overturned furniture. The girl sat upright, shaking violently, tears pouring down her cheeks. "They're not my uncles," she sobbed. "They work for the cabin men. They said they'd kill Hunter if I didn't." Her voice broke. Daniel snapped handcuffs onto the second man and dragged him upright. "What cabin? What men?" The girl choked, trembling so hard she could barely speak. "They took kids. Lots of kids. Hunter saved me." Before anyone could process the words, a security guard burst into the room, face pale. "Officer Daniels, those SUVs outside. They're not leaving." He swallowed. "And there are more coming." Hunter, still gripping the sleeve of the man he had taken down, looked up with bloodshot eyes. He knew what that meant. This wasn't over. It was just beginning. There was still in chaos scattered equipment, overturned chairs, and the faint smell of adrenaline lingering in the air. When Officer Daniels escorted the restrained men into a separate room, backup was on the way, but every second felt like a countdown to something bigger, darker, and far more dangerous than anyone had realized. Nurse Amelia stayed with the little girl, who was now wrapped in a blanket, trembling but more awake than before. Hunter lay against her leg, panting heavily, his fur still streaked with blood. He refused treatment, snapping and growling at anyone who tried to separate him from the child. Daniels re-entered moments later, walking with the stiff posture of someone who just received news he didn't want to hear. The SUVs outside didn't come to pick those men up, he said quietly. They're waiting. Waiting for what? Amelia asked. For an opportunity. The girl let out a small whimper, burying her face in Hunter's neck. They want me back, she whispered. They said if I ran, they'd hurt the others. Amelia's breath caught. Oh, others? The girl nodded shakily. They keep us in the cabin, in the mountains. There were more kids, at least 6 the last time I was there. Daniels felt his stomach drop. He'd heard whispers, rumors of disappearances along the mountain routes, but nothing concrete. Nothing that pointed to a group operating out in the wilderness. The idea that they had an organized team, armed retrieval squads, and a remote location set up for holding children. This wasn't some small-time crime. This was a network. Sweetheart, Daniels said softly, crouching so he could meet her eyes. I need you to tell me how you got away, how you and Hunter escaped. The girl swallowed hard, tears spilling again. It wasn't supposed to happen, she whispered. The men left the cabin for a while. There was another man with us. He was supposed to watch us, but Hunter. She looked at the dog, awe in her voice. Hunter got loose. Daniels frowned. Canine units don't just get loose. He broke the chain, she said. I heard it snap. The guard tried to grab me, but Hunter attacked him. He dragged me through the trees. We ran and ran and ran until we found a road. Where was Officer Reed? Daniels asked. Hunter's handler. The girl hesitated. Then her voice cracked. He tried to save us. The men hurt him. I saw it. Amelia covered her mouth with her hand. Daniels closed his eyes for a moment. Reed was one of the best. If Reed had been taken down, whatever they were dealing with was far from ordinary. The girl tugged on Amelia's sleeve. Please don't let them take me back. Amelia hugged her gently. We won't. I promise you, we won't. But promising felt like lying, because outside, through the hospital's front windows, the SUV sat idling in silence, dark, tinted, waiting like patient predators. Daniel's radio crackled suddenly. Unit 4, this is dispatch. Backup is delayed. Repeat, backup is delayed. Highway closure due to an overturned semi. Response time unknown. Daniel's face went pale. That wasn't coincidence. This was coordinated. Amelia glanced nervously toward the entrance. What do? We move her, Daniel said. We get her to safety inside the hospital until we can evacuate. He motioned for the girl to get onto another stretcher, but Hunter stepped in front of her, blocking the movement. He doesn't want her leaving this room, Amelia murmured. No, Daniels corrected, eyes moving toward the windows. He doesn't want her going that way. He was right. Hunter was facing the hallway, not the exit, and that's when Amelia noticed it. The hallway felt too quiet, too still, like the air itself was holding its breath. Then, footsteps, soft, controlled, coming from the pediatric wing. Daniels drew his weapon instantly. Who else is supposed to be on this floor? No one, Amelia whispered. Only us and the overnight nurses. Hunter rose on shaky legs, positioning himself between the noise and the girl, his body trembling but his eyes fierce. The lights flickered again. A soft thump came from around the corner. Then another, slow, deliberate. Daniels pointed his gun at the hallway. Stay behind me. The girl clutched Hunter's neck. They're splitting up, she whispered. That's what they do when they hunt. The word hunt slid through the air like ice. Daniels took one step into the hall, and someone stepped into view. A man, different from the 3 detained earlier, dressed in black from head to toe. No hesitation, no fear. He lifted his hand slowly, revealing a badge-shaped patch on his jacket. But Amelia's heart stopped when she saw it. It wasn't a police badge. It was the same insignia the girl had described from the cabin. A crescent moon, a pine tree, a number etched beneath it, and beneath that, a weapon holster. The man smiled faintly. Hand over the girl, he said quietly. And the dog. Hunter's growl shook the room. Daniels raised his weapon. That's not happening. The man tilted his head. Then you won't survive what comes next. Behind him, the more shadows moved. The hospital wasn't surrounded anymore. It was infiltrated, and they were already inside. The quiet ticking of the hospital hallway clock felt like a countdown. Officers crowded around the glass window of Lily's room, their radios silent, their bodies tense. Titan lay beside the little girl's bed, refusing food, water, and even commands. He rested his massive head across her small legs as if shielding her from the world. Dr. Marissa Holt whispered to Officer Daniels, "His vitals are elevated. He's in protection mode, but he's also grieving. Dogs can go into shock too." Daniels nodded grimly. "He hasn't left her side since we brought her in." EMT said he growled at anyone who tried touching her, but inside that small room, Titan wasn't aggressive. He was something else, something no one had expected. He was terrified. Across the building, in a dim conference room lit by a single flickering bulb, Lieutenant Avery slammed a thick folder onto the metal table. "All right, we have to stop dancing around it," he said, breathing sharply. "Someone needs to explain why a K-9 patrol dog ended up carrying an unconscious, bleeding child through a public street." The room fell into stunned silence. Detective Ruiz rubbed his temples. "We've processed Titan's body cam. You're not going to believe what's on it." Avery motioned. "Play it." The screen flickered, showing the shaky, blurred footage from Titan's camera harness. At first, it was only dark woods and heavy panning. Branches snapped. Leaves rustled. A distant scream. Lily's scream. Officers leaned closer. The camera shook violently. Titan sprinting through underbrush. "Pause," Avery ordered. They froze the footage on Lily, a tiny figure in torn jeans, sprawled on the forest floor, her leg bleeding. Beside her was a man, tall, hooded, masked, holding something metallic. Ruiz whispered. He wasn't just lost. He was hunting. Someone cursed under their breath. The footage resumed. Titan lunged. The man struck with the metallic object, hitting Titan's body cam, sending static across the screen. Growls, snarling, frantic movement, and then a blood-curdling scream from the man. The camera caught a glimpse of him running off into the trees, injured, limping. Then Titan returned to Lily. He nudged her, whined, licked her face. He pawed at her jacket, desperate. But she didn't move. "Jesus," someone whispered. Then, with pure panic and determination, Titan gently, carefully got underneath her and lifted her onto his back. The footage ended with Titan running out of the woods, Lily draped across him, heading straight toward the nearest town. The room was silent. No one blinked, until Lieutenant Avery finally whispered, "That dog saved her life." Back in Lily's room, Titan suddenly raised his head. His ears perked, his body stiffening. Something instinct, scent, memory had triggered him. Lily's eyelashes fluttered. Not enough to speak, not enough to open her eyes, but enough. A tiny whimper escaped her lips. Titan immediately nudged her cheek, letting out a soft rumble that almost sounded like a cry. His tail thumped weakly, but then he froze, staring at the door. Officer Daniels stepped in, holding a photo. "Titan, buddy, is this the man?" Titan's eyes shifted to the photo of the hooded figure, caught in a still frame from the body cam. The man's jacket sleeve showed a unique tattoo, something like a jagged lightning bolt. Daniels placed the picture on the floor. Titan growled a deep, bone-chilling growl, the kind that vibrated the floor. Daniels lifted the photo. "I'll take that as a yes." Suddenly, he rushed out of the room, heading straight toward Lieutenant Avery. "We've got an ID marker. Tattoo on the suspect's forearm. We need state assistance now." But before Avery could reply, another officer burst through the hallway. "Sir, we've got a problem. A big one." Avery spun around. "What now?" The officer hesitated, breathless. "The man, the one in the woods." He swallowed hard. "We think he's back in town." A chilling silence swept through the hallway. Daniels felt his stomach drop. "You're telling me he came back after Titan nearly tore him apart?" The officer nodded shakily. "Residents spotted a man limping, bleeding, hiding behind homes near downtown. Fits the description. Angry, desperate." Avery clenched his fists. He probably realized Titan brought the girl here. That means, Daniels finished the sentence with a whisper, "He knows where she is." Before anyone could respond, Titan rose from beside the bed. His ears pointed forward, his stance sharpened. He stared at the hospital door like he sensed something the humans couldn't. Daniels whispered, "No, no, buddy, don't tell me you smell him." Titan let out a low, rumbling snarl. Then footsteps echoed down the hallway, slow, deliberate, getting closer. Every officer exchanged a horrified glance, because the footsteps stopped right outside Lily's room, and the doorknob began to turn. The hospital hallway was deathly silent, except for the faint hum of the emergency lights and the shallow, synchronized breathing of Lily and Titan. The dog's hackles were raised. Every muscle in his body coiled like a spring. His eyes locked on the doorknob as it slowly turned, each click echoing like a gunshot in the empty corridor. Officer Daniels pressed himself against the wall, his gun drawn, sweat beading on his forehead. "Titan, stay close. Whatever's coming. It's dangerous," he whispered, voice low but trembling. The little girl's eyes were wide as saucers, and she clutched Titan's fur like it was a lifeline. The dog's warmth against her small frame was the only thing keeping her from fully panicking. The door handle rattled. A shadow fell across the room's threshold. A man stepped in, not the ones from earlier, different, dark, lanky, and moving with the confidence of someone who had done this before, a predator in human form. His eyes scanned the room quickly, stopping on Lily. A twisted grin spread across his face. "Hand her over," he said softly, almost mockingly. "The dog and the girl." Titan growled low in his throat, the sound vibrating against the walls. He stepped in front of Lily, his body trembling with pain, but his stance firm. Daniels leveled his gun, voice steady despite his racing heart. "You're not taking anyone anywhere." The man's smile widened. "I don't think you understand. One way or another, she comes with me." Before Daniels could respond, the man lunged. Titan barked and leapt, intercepting him mid-motion. The two collided in a violent clash. Titan's weight and ferocity caught the man off guard, sending him sprawling across the floor. But the man's hands weren't empty. He pulled a gun from his waistband and fired. The bullet tore through the door frame. Titan yelped, spinning to shield Lily with his body. Daniels returned fire, but the man ducked behind a counter, sliding across the floor like he had anticipated the attack. "Get down," Daniels shouted, shoving Lily behind a medical cart. Titan, limping heavily, lunged again. His paws scraped against the tile, blood from his earlier injuries staining the floor. He didn't falter. Every growl, every snarl, was a vow. "I will not let you touch her." The man rolled, firing wildly, shattering a glass monitor on the wall. Sparks flew. Smoke and acrid smell of gunpowder filled the room. Lily screamed. Titan barked and lunged, slamming into the man's torso. The impact sent the man crashing into the counter. A table of supplies overturned, cans and boxes clattering across the floor. Daniels grabbed the girl, holding her tight. "We need to get her out now." Titan's gaze shifted, ears swiveling. He barked sharply, nudging Daniels toward the maintenance door at the end of the hallway. The dog was giving them a path, a lifeline. Daniels hesitated. "You want us to go there?" Titan barked again, more urgently. He backed up, pawing at the floor near the door, then turned to ensure Lily and Daniels followed. The little girl's sobs were muffled into Titan's fur, as Daniels helped her onto the narrow metal stairwell leading to the back service exit. "Hold on tight," he whispered. Gunfire cracked behind them, the man recovering and taking another shot at Titan. The dog yelped, but didn't stop moving. Every step was agony for him, every motion a fight against injury. But he pushed forward, guiding them like a wounded hero refusing to surrender. Daniel's radio crackled. "Backup's almost there. Stay calm." Lily's small hands gripped Titan's neck. "Don't leave me. Don't leave me." The dog limped forward, determination in every muscle. The gunfire intensified. The man's figure loomed in the hall above them, shouting, swearing, trying to intercept. But Titan stayed in the way, a shield of fur, teeth, and courage. They reached the maintenance hatch. Daniels opened it, revealing a dark chute leading downward. Titan barked, signaling them to go first. He pawed at the edge, refusing to descend himself. "Titan, you don't have to stay here." Daniels yelled. The dog looked back, eyes full of pain and love. His low growl was not warning, it was a promise. "I will hold them off. You go." Lily clung tighter. Daniels lifted her, lowering her into the chute. She looked up at Titan one last time, tears streaking her face. Titan barked once loud, fierce, unbroken, and Daniels understood. He jumped in after Lily, leaving Titan above. Gunshots rang out again. The sounds of struggle, crashing equipment, and growling filled the hall. Titan stood his ground, bleeding and exhausted, facing the armed intruder alone. Lily slid down the chute, the sound of the dog's bark fading behind her. She wrapped her arms around Daniels, shaking. "We're safe, right?" she whispered. Daniel swallowed, staring upward toward the hospital ceiling. "For now, but Titan, he's not alone out there. He's fighting for us." And above, the shadows of the man and Titan collided violently, each movement a battle of life and death. The chute dropped them into the dimly lit laundry room below. The only sounds were heavy breaths and the faint drip of water from a leaking pipe. Lily clutched Daniel's arm, trembling, while he scanned for exits. Above them, Titan's growls and the echo of gunfire painted the hospital with the grim realization this was far from over. Outside, the night waited, silent and hungry. Inside, Titan was making his stand. The laundry room was dark, cramped, and smelled faintly of detergent and damp cloth. But it was the only refuge Lily and Officer Daniels had. Daniels set the girl down gently, wrapping her trembling arms around himself. "She's scared, but she's okay for now," he whispered. "We have to move carefully." Lily buried her face in his chest, tears streaming down her cheeks. "Titan," she sobbed, "please, don't let them hurt him." Daniels swallowed hard. "He won't leave you. He's protecting you with everything he has." Above them, the hospital erupted into chaos. Gunfire ricocheted down the hallways. Metal clattered as equipment was thrown aside. Titan had become a one-dog barricade, and though wounded and exhausted, he refused to back down. Each growl and snap of his jaws was a declaration, "I will not let them near her." From the laundry room, Daniels could hear the man, the one who had infiltrated the hospital, cursing, trying to maneuver past Titan. But the dog's instincts were perfect. Every step the intruder took, Titan anticipated. He's holding them off," Daniels muttered under his breath. He could hear the labored breathing of the dog through the thin walls. Blood-stained Titan's fur, dripping in small, relentless streams onto the stale tiles, but still, he stood tall. Lily whispered, "I don't want him to die." Daniels pressed a hand to her shoulder. "He won't. You have to trust me." And him. Seconds stretched into minutes. Every second felt like an hour. And then, suddenly, a crackling sound on the radio brought new hope. "This is SWAT Command. Teams Delta and Echo are entering the hospital. Hold your position until we secure the area." Daniels exhaled, relief and fear twisting together. "They're here. We're not alone anymore." Lily hugged herself tighter. "Titan, will he be okay?" Daniels swallowed hard, glancing at the vent shaft that led out to the laundry room. "We hope so. He's tough, stronger than anyone I've ever seen." Back upstairs, Titan faced the man head-on. The intruder fired another shot. Titan yelped but didn't falter. With a surge of raw power, he lunged, knocking the man to the ground. Equipment toppled. Shattering glass scattered across the floor, and the sound of the impact echoed through the hallways. Officer Daniels and the arriving SWAT teams heard the commotion as they stormed the building. Tactical lights pierced the dark corridors, illuminating the chaos. Flashbangs detonated outside the room where Titan held his ground, temporarily disorienting the intruder, but Titan recovered instantly, snapping at the man and forcing him to retreat. "He's amazing," whispered one SWAT officer, crouched in the hall. The intruder fired wildly, then made a break for it, limping toward the emergency exit. Titan, ignoring the pain in his limbs, chased him relentlessly. Every paw strike, every snap of his jaws, screamed courage. Daniels, holding Lily's hand, whispered, "Go, Titan. You've got this." The man attempted to escape into the night, but SWAT teams intercepted him outside. Titan, still limping heavily, watched the confrontation from the hospital entrance. His body quivered, exhaustion threatening to take him down, but his eyes remained fixed on Lily. When the threat was finally neutralized, a hush fell over the scene. The hospital was safe for the moment, but the cost was clear. Titan's chest heaved, his body trembling with pain, every step labored. Blood ran from his injuries, his breathing shallow, and yet, he would not move from Lily's side. Daniels approached slowly. "Titan, come on, buddy. You're safe now." Titan lifted his head weakly, his eyes meeting Daniels'. He made a soft, guttural sound, almost a whine, but it wasn't defeat. It was acknowledgement. He had kept his promise. Lily crawled from Daniels' arms, kneeling beside him. You saved me," she whispered, wrapping her small arms around Titan's neck. The dog rested his head on her shoulder, exhausted but unwavering. Every person in the hospital who saw the scene fell silent, overwhelmed by the sheer bravery of the animal who had refused to leave her side despite pain, fear, and overwhelming odds. Paramedics carefully lifted Titan onto a stretcher, his legs barely supporting him, but his head remained turned toward Lily. Even as they prepared to transport him for emergency treatment, he refused to leave her side completely. Officer Daniels knelt next to Lily, holding her hand. "He's a hero," he said softly. "And so are you, kid. But right now, he needs help. We'll make sure he gets it." Lily hugged Titan one last time, tears mixing with the grime and blood on his fur. "I love you. I'll never forget you." Titan let out a low, satisfied rumble, closing his eyes as the medics moved him. Outside, the early morning light began to creep over the horizon. The hospital had survived the night, but the events would leave scars not just physical, but emotional, deep in the hearts of everyone involved. And yet, one truth remained. A dog had walked into the hospital bleeding, alone, carrying a little girl on the edge of death, and had stood between her and unimaginable danger. Titan had become more than a K-9 unit. He had become a legend. But in the shadows of the woods, where the first attack had begun, something stirred. The criminal network that had been hunting Lily hadn't been fully uncovered. Someone, somewhere, had taken note. The fight wasn't completely over, and Titan's mission, though heroic, was only the beginning. The first golden rays of morning seeped through the hospital blinds, casting long, gentle shadows across the floor. Inside Trauma Room 3, Lily sat on a bed, wrapped in a warm blanket, her small fingers tangled in the fur of the only friend she trusted. Titan rested beside her, panting softly, his massive body bruised and battered. A medkit lay open on the floor, but the dog refused to be separated from her even for a second. Officer Daniels knelt beside them, gently checking Titan's injuries while keeping a protective eye on the girl. "You did it, buddy," he murmured. "You kept her safe. All of her." Lily stroked Titan's head, whispering, "You're my hero. You saved me. I'll never forget you." At that moment, the door opened quietly. A familiar voice called out, "Titan, you did it." It was Officer Ryan Reed. The room erupted with soft cries and laughter as Reed knelt beside the dog, his own uniform torn and face bruised from the earlier chaos. He held out a trembling hand, and Titan leaned in, placing his head against his handler's chest. Reed whispered, voice thick with emotion, "I'm so proud of you, buddy. You saved her. You saved everyone." Lily's eyes widened. "You're her handler?" she asked, looking between the two officers. Reed nodded, smiling warmly. "Yes, and tonight, you and Titan. You both taught me what true courage looks like." Amelia, who had been standing quietly at the edge of the room, took a deep breath. "Officer Reed, the little girl Lily told us everything about the cabin, the men, the children. It's worse than we imagined. This isn't just one criminal. It's an entire network." Daniels exchanged a grim glance with Reed. "That we have work to do. Titan already stopped them once. Now it's time to finish this." Outside the hospital, SWAT teams had begun coordinating with local law enforcement, mapping every lead Lily had given. Evidence from the cabin, combined with Titan's body cam footage, painted a horrifying picture of child abduction and trafficking in the mountain region. The network spanned miles and included several armed men prepared to ambush anyone who interfered. Reed stroked Titan's fur, voice low but steady. "They underestimated you, boy, but the network won't underestimate us again. We're taking them down for the children, for you, and for Lily." Lily wrapped her arms around Titan once more, tears slipping down her cheeks. "Will the other kids be okay?" Daniels placed a reassuring hand on her shoulder. "We're going to find them, all of them, and make sure they're safe." Hours later, after Titan had been treated and given food and water, the hospital corridors echoed with news reports and calls from law enforcement. The girl's story had gone public, revealing the shocking scale of the operation. Heroes were celebrated, victims given hope, and in the center of it all, a dog who had risked everything to save a child. But the story didn't end in the hospital. Reed, Daniels, and SWAT units returned to the mountains. Using Titan's instincts and Lily's detailed recollections, they located the cabin in the heart of the criminal network. The raid was swift and surgical. The criminals, caught off guard, were arrested. Children, hidden in separate rooms and unaware of the outside world, were rescued one by one. Families were notified. Tears, hugs, and sobs of relief filled the air as the victims were finally free. Titan, though exhausted, stayed by Reed's side throughout the entire operation. Every child he approached seemed to recognize the calm, protective energy that had saved Lily. He wasn't just a dog, they realized he was a guardian, a silent hero who had faced unimaginable danger without fear. Lily watched from a safe distance, wrapped in a blanket with Daniels beside her. She couldn't speak at first. Then she whispered, "He didn't just save me. He saved them all." Reed knelt beside Titan, holding the dog's head in his hands. "You are more than a canine unit. You are a hero. And today, you changed lives." The investigation revealed the full scope of the network, dozens of missing children, several key operatives, and a sophisticated system of intimidation and abduction. Authorities commended Titan and the team for their bravery, issuing formal recognition and awards. Titan's photo appeared in local newspapers, not just as a police dog, but as the animal who had defied odds, pain, and danger to save a human life. Back at the hospital, Lily sat with Titan in her lap, finally able to smile. "You're never leaving me, right?" she asked softly. Titan rested his head against her chest, eyes closing with trust and contentment. Reed whispered, "For tonight, at least. The world is safe because of you." As the sun climbed higher, bathing the hospital and the mountains beyond in warm morning light, one thing was clear: courage comes in many forms, but sometimes it comes on four legs with a heart braver than any human's. Titan had walked into that hospital alone, battered and bleeding, carrying a little girl on the edge of death. He had faced down trained criminals, gunfire, and danger, and he had done it all for one reason: love, loyalty, and the unbreakable bond between a dog and the child he saved. In the quiet aftermath, Lily stroked his fur. "You're my hero, Titan, and I'll never forget you." Titan gave a soft, contented rumble, closing his eyes as the world finally allowed him to rest. Justice had been served, the network dismantled, and the bond between the little girl and the bravest dog in Colorado would be remembered forever. The legend of Titan the dog, who refused to leave her side, was complete.